Welcome, Spriha. Welcome to Accelerator Program, Episode 1, Season 1 of She Foundation. We are so glad to have you on board with us. Okay, so can you tell us about yourself and give us a summary on your journey in STEM? What led you to the discovery of your interest?
So actually, I come from an ICSE school, so there we had coding languages, those old coding languages. From third standard, we had a language called Logo, logic oriented, graphic oriented. So there you have just simple commands and you used to make designs on the screen. And then from fifth standard, we had another old language called Basic, all of which are obsolete right now. Most of the people don't use them. From 8th or ninth, we got introduced to C, Java, and then slowly, I think when I came to college, I actually got to understand all the different diverse aspects uh, that a career in STEM can have. And slowly, when I started discovering more and more of it, I started falling in love with it along the process. So there are people who knew from a very young age that they want to make a career in STEM. It wasn't the case with me. I discovered it along the way, and I did my computer science and engineering from VIT Vellore, and then I did internships there. I attended many hackathons, conferences there. So that's how I explored and discovered the world of STEM.
Okay, that is really great. Okay, about the hackathons. Can you share your experience at hackathons and conferences, as you mentioned?
Yeah, so hackathons and conferences, I feel, are a great way to build your technical network. So, as it said that there's a quote that your network is your net worth. So, before college, I didn't know actually what hackathons really are. The concept of hackathons wasn't very clear to me. But when I went to college, you're exposed to a whole new environment of people who are building things, doing different things, and so when you go to a hackathon, I feel like in those 24 to, so I'll just explain what a hackathon is in case there's anyone who doesn't know what it is. So in a hackathon, you're given problem statements related to the world, 2 or 3 problem statements, and you have to come up with technical solutions for those problems. So a lot of focus. So generally, when it's shown in movies, etc., you imagine a software engineer as a geek sitting with specs in front of a computer, but then it's not like that. I feel like a software engineer also needs to have people skills. So that's what you understand in hackathons. Your technical product is like just half of it. You also need to be able to pitch your product, build a business model around the product. So that is also equally important. And in hackathons and conferences, as I mentioned, everyone is charged with ideas. Everyone has some ideas. Everyone wants to create value and make some difference. So even you feel very inspired, and in those 2-3 days you learn more than you can learn in 2-3 months of college, I feel. So they are a great way. And some hackathons and conferences that children can attend are Open Source India Conference, Grace Hopper Conference, then Angel Hack. Then if you're looking for international hackathons, there are Hack MIT, Hack Harvard. All the Ivy League colleges also conduct hackathons, and you can apply for them. So, and even in your college, I think technical chapters and women tech makers conferences, Google developers group conferences, all these are great way to build your network and learn more.
Okay, so now tell us what all helped to boost your resume for the job, projects, and the internships that you mentioned.
Okay, so your resume, I feel first of all, like when you're making a resume for applying to a company or anything, make sure that the resume is very short and crisp. People generally do not have time to leaf through 4 or 5 pages of resume, so make sure it's in one page. Everything's consolidated there. And how can you highlight your resume? Because everyone's making a resume. How do you stand out then? So for that, I feel make sure you're doing the projects on your own, because like I've noticed, mainly many a times it happens that there are only 1 or 2 people working in group projects. But believe me, the interviewers have been taking interviews since a very long time, so they know what questions to ask, and they can understand if you've not done the project on your own, and that's a very negative point in the interview. So make sure you're doing projects on your own. Also make sure you're exploring open source and adding them to GitHub. making open source contributions, especially now it's the month of October. There's a Hacktoberfest event where you can make 4 open source contributions and then you get swags from Hacktoberfest. So make sure you explore all these. Also, I feel your LinkedIn profile, make sure it's complete. Make sure you're connecting to the right people. Make sure you're following the right people, engaging with the right audience. And then, of course, your resume. I feel technical. If you're learning something new, like say you're learning web development, make sure you're documenting everything, the entire process, be it through blogs or be it through vlogs, video blogs or podcasts. So all of these added to your resume. And also there are different technical chapters and clubs in colleges, or if your college doesn't have one, then there's an application called Meetup. So in that application, you can enter your interests and they will find events for you according to your interests. So there you can go and meet more people, contribute in meaningful ways. So these are must-haves, I think, for resume. Also, I think you can have certifications, but many a times what happens is people have certifications just for the sake of completing those certifications, but they do not have any project or mini project or anything to show that yes, they have that relevant skill. So make sure you're not just adding certifications, but you also do something, act on those certifications if you're adding them.
Actually, this is a curious question I have. What happens when you lie in your resume? Like,
What happens when you lie in your resume?
yeah.
Unless you're a very, very good communicator and know how to get out of it, 9 out of 10 times you might be caught, and it's like unethical, and companies will not accept that, and you won't be proceeding to the next round. So
That's a no-no then. Yeah. Okay, so tell us about what internships you did and how the selection process went.
I did 2 internships when I was in college. One was in IIT Bombay. It was on PHP and MySQL, and the other was in IBM. I worked on chatbots with Watson Assistant and Watson Discovery. So for selection process in IIT Bombay, not only IIT Bombay, I think any educational institution, if you're applying for an internship there, most of the internships in technical institutions are research-based internships. So what you can do is you can go on their website and keep a track of all the openings they have and make a note of them. And I think a more effective way of getting an internship at technical institutions is sometimes you may apply, but they may just reject or because many people apply, so they may not go through them. So on their sites, a list of professors are mentioned and what projects the professors are working on, everything is mentioned there. So if you spend a day doing research on that which professors are working in domains that you are interested in, and then if you send out customized emails to those professors that you have those skills or you're interested to work in the project he's working on, there's a much more higher chance of getting converted into an internship. Also, you might not get a response in the first go. You have to follow up multiple times and then you might get a response. And with IBM, I actually had a referral. So actually coming to reference, it reminds me that I've been seeing on LinkedIn many people from big tech companies like Amazon and Microsoft are posting that please do not message us that please refer me for this post and please refer me for that, because 9 out of times they might not even open your message because they don't know you. So if you just say please refer me, they will not refer you. So if your referral is a very good way, very effective way to further your application, because it might get lost if you're just applying because thousands of other people are applying. So referral of course helps. But while getting a referral, if you're approaching someone on LinkedIn who you don't know, it's always a good idea to customize your message, map yourself how you are, how you will be useful for that opening, say what skills you have and what you're interested in and what projects you've done and how you would be a good fit for the job. Do not say what you want, but tell him how you can add value to his organization, and then there's a much higher chance of your getting a referral. So that is one thing. Also, I think since yours is She Foundation, so how women are treated in the workplace. So in all of my internships and right now even in my workplace, I feel the culture is very diverse and inclusive, and I've not really felt that I'm being discriminated against in any way. But sometimes, in general, I felt that maybe I wasn't taken much seriously because of my gender, or I would have been given more responsibility had I been of the opposite gender. So I think something to remember then is that the only limits we face are the ones we place on ourselves. So someone might have doubted us, but the number of times we run that through our mind, we are also creating that situation of doubt for ourselves time and again. So we have to come out of that and not put focus on that. So that's something.
Thank you so much, Priya.
So what you said really is a valid point. I think one of the main motivations behind us starting this is the fact that when you sit around a table and you have every aspect of a gender, then I think it's important for the person in power to understand that my credibility doesn't is not affected by my gender. And if I am putting a point, it is as much valid or as much wrong as the other person behind me. So I think,
And
yeah.
And right now, even if you see in the COVID-19 pandemic, all the countries that had women leaders are doing much better than those that had male leaders, because women have society and compassion at heart. So they bring a kind of compassionate leadership. So they bring a different perspective that men lack.
Okay. Moment of truth. All right. Okay, so we are also college students. So give us some suggestions. The students who are starting their third year and second year for placements, internships, and how to approach professors and all those.
Okay, I think like if you're in your second or third year now, one thing you have in your hand is time, which is a very valuable asset. So it depends on you now whether you turn it into a profitable asset or not. So how do you use your time? So for internships or placements, we all know data structures and algorithms are very important. So make sure you're spending some time every week with data structures and algorithm, 1 hour every day, 5 days a week, or learning a new concept in data structures and algorithm every week. And do not depend on your college to do that for you. Please make sure that you also go out and explore that, because your college will not be covering the entire data structures and algorithm portion. And make sure that, like I said before, also make sure you're networking, make sure you have an updated GitHub profile. Actually, in one of the conferences I attended, someone mentioned he was the CTO of some company, I don't remember which one right now. He said that a few years down the line, your GitHub profile is going to act as your resume. So people won't be looking at resumes anymore, they will be looking at your GitHub profile and seeing if you're doing projects, if you're contributing to open source. And right now also people are hired through that, but that's going to become more popular maybe in a few years. So yeah, projects, certifications, and if you can write technical blogs or make video blogs out of it, all these are must recommended. So the reason I'm saying this is that because when we are in college, there are a lot of assignments, submissions, exams, so we get overwhelmed in that, and once we are done with that, we feel our responsibility is over. But what you're learning in college is not going to really help you in the real world. You have to take that extra step on your own and do all this.
So how was your experience at Shell?
So Shell came to my college for campus placements. So like any other company, there's a first online round. So in the online round, there are 2 coding questions, one dynamic programming, and one a normal coding question. Then you have an aptitude section, a technical MCQ section. Once you're done with that, a certain number of people get selected for the technical interview. So in the technical interview, you have questions from DBMS, questions from OS. So it depends on the interviewer what questions you get asked, but brushing up on DBMS, OS, for I'm talking about computer science field. So these topics will really help. Also, they might ask you to code on pen and paper. And if you're coding on pen and paper, always make sure you're talking to the interviewer while coding. You're explaining your thought process, because your interviewer is mainly interested in understanding your thought process. Um, he doesn't want to see the end solution, but he wants to see how you reach the solution. Also, after the technical round, there was a behavioral or HR round. So there they asked questions, there they had asked me questions about like how do you build your network or how do you reach out to people. So these are very important points again. So once we were done with that, now the job has started. It's been 1.5 months. So actually there were 2 weeks of onboarding for us because it's virtual. So right now we do not really feel the virtual gap, because in those 2 weeks they ensured that we all feel very comfortable. They have a lot of focus on safety, and right now, those concepts which we had studied in software engineering, agile methodologies, how project teams work. So now I'm actually working in a project team, and my project manager is a female. The vice president of IT engineering in Shell is also a female, and then I'm in the design engineering functionality. So in design engineering, the head of design engineering is also a female. So there's a lot of inclusion and diversity in the workplace, which is great. So yeah, there's a lot to learn once you're actually doing a real world job than what you do in a project in college.
Okay, so one more question, then we're done. Then you'll be okay. So how you kept yourself motivated throughout the process, all this time? How you managed to stay put and stay together?
You have to always keep the focus on intent rather than the result. Like, why you're doing something should be much more stronger than what you wish to achieve through that. And once that is clear, there might be times when you won't be at your best, and every day you will be at a new peak. But make sure that you're constantly working on yourself. Even if it's a 0.1 increase that you're going through every day, that's still an increase. Make sure you're spending at least half an hour on your personal growth, on things that interest you. So that will help a lot. And of course, when motivation doesn't last, discipline does. So make sure you live a disciplined lifestyle, stay committed to the commitments you make to yourself, because if you're keeping the commitments to yourself, that reflects whether you'll be keeping commitments to the world. So make sure you start with that. So that's about it. Also, I wanted to ask y'all that how did y'all get inspired to start this particular initiative about women in STEM? Why not something else? Why this particular topic?
I think the main issue with women in STEM is people don't even recognize that we have some form of disparity going on. They don't even recognize that there is a gender-based wage gap, or there's a gender-based education system in our own world. I think that is the issue. And if we can just inform people about it, if we can recognize the fact that we are suffering and we have something to say, then it'll make a great difference to us. And I think jobs should be gender neutral. That is the main motto behind a job. That is the main motto. You are not asked what is your gender first thing in a job. You are asked how can you contribute in that job. And if I am doing something, and if my male counterpart is doing something, and if he is paid more, maybe like some cents or maybe like some pesas, that doesn't matter. What matters is why. And if I don't ask the question why, then nobody else is going to ask that question for me. And I think we wait a really long time to say something. We wait till we get we'll, till we stand on our feet, till we start earning. But I think the more the merrier, the earlier the better. And if we just I just want to recognize the fact that we are doing more than we should, and getting paid less, getting recognized less. And as you said, our network is our net worth. And if we grow our network, reach more people like you who have done something in their life and are willing to do more and inspire more people, then I think our net worth can become greater and we can really put a word out there.
That's true. Actually, there's a day, February 11th is celebrated as the International Day for Women and Girls in STEM. So I think this year only in 2020, the United Nations released a starter kit for that same reason. And there they had released some facts which said that less than 30% of scientific researchers are women. And by the age of 6, most girls form an opinion that boys will excel at really smart activities and they won't be able to do that. Also, when it comes to opportunities in STEM, uh, for every one woman, there are 5 men. So I think initiatives like yours are very important to create that awareness, because when you have that awareness, then only more young girls will be motivated to take up careers in science, technology, mathematics, and then only we'll broaden the perspective and create development in the world. So it was my pleasure to be here, and it's a really great initiative.
Okay, so thank you so much. We are done with our questions, and thank you for your time. Thank you so much for connecting with us. And I hope this video reaches more and more people and they get inspired from your journey. So thank you so much again.